September. As you can see, you can do some pretty naughty things.
He actually took a C4 plastic explosive and threw it up there.
Top choice was surely Crisis from Far Cry people Crytek. Is this the prettiest PC game ever?
Pick up heavy objects like barrels and you can actually use them as weapons. We got also our nice water, which we are very proud of. So I'm gonna take a small dive into the water just to show you the level of detail. We got bullet trails, we got even crabs here. See that? We got sea life, we got crabs, we got fish. And this is something we're really proud of. So we want to give you an amazing visual experience and a very, very open gameplay.
Half-Life 2 Episode 2 is almost with us. Finally! We recently caught up with Valve's Doug Lombardi to take a look at this sadly delayed second chapter.
Right now we're driving in this new sort of modified 1970s American muscle car, which sort of has a real sloppy but fast kind of feel to it, much different than the buggy in Half-Life 2, which was slower and had really tight controls. Classic crowbar and the fizz gun are intact, of course, and staples of sort of the Half-Life arsenal. Later in the game we add to the weaponry with a couple new toys for you to play with as well.
As with the other Half-Life games, Episode 2 is a mix of story and action with lots of puzzles to provide a break from the constant alien onslaught.
So here we're seeing one of the physics-based puzzles in Episode 2. You're in this radio tower that the power has gone off on, and you have to go downstairs here and do a little MacGyver rewiring to get the power back on for Alex to try and send a signal to your scientist. So here we'll go ahead and wire this back up, put the power back on, and get on the elevator.
I've got a bad feeling about this. Yes, we're being hunted by a hunter.
The Hunter is a cousin of the Striders, which are the giant tripods featured in Half-Life 2 and Episode 1. The Hunters are far more agile, given their smaller size. They're able to leap down from high spaces and flesh you out of tight spaces. They usually travel in packs as well, making them a little bit more lethal, perhaps than the Strider, in that you have to deal with a band of them rather than just one at a time.
As well as having a short-range pounce attack, the hunters fire electric darts which work like timed grenades. They stick to you, or objects, then explode. So using cover like this radiator is vital. So how do you kill them?
Battling the Hunter really is pretty simple. You want to sort of use a mixture of firearms and physics objects. So you want to hurl tires, gas cans, whatever, radiators, whatever you can find at them, and then use that in concert with some machine gun fire or shotgun fire to try and take them down. If you just try to stand there and Rambo or John Wayne them, chances are you won't be too successful, especially with them traveling in packs.
It's a case of the old shoot and move, shoot and move. Anyway, as most fans agree, we should have Half-Life 3 already. What innovations does Valve have to keep them amused?
Here we're about halfway through Episode 2. Which is a bit longer than Episode 1. We gathered a lot of stats from Episode 1 and found that the average play time was about probably 5.5 hours. The play tests for Episode 2 are clocking in closer to 8 to 9 hours of play. So it's a fairly longer episode. And obviously being shipped with Team Fortress 2 and Portal, there'll be a bunch more game included in the pack.
The orange box, which includes this game, will be out this October. The long wait is almost over.
No room for failure. We want to win.
It's been nearly 2 years since Colin McRae last brought us an addition to his long-running rally franchise, and a lot has changed since then. We've been blessed with a new generation of consoles with new levels of visual realism, and the Flying Scotsman has stopped dominating the World Rally Championship, which was bound to happen once he started driving for Skoda. So along comes Colin McRae Dirt, and as it turns out, this is a world apart from the series' previous incarnations. Colin has taken a back seat for this one. Instead, Codemasters have gone for a similar setup to their race driver games. Here, your skills are tested with 6 dirt racing disciplines as you strive to become the world's best off-roader. There's classic point-to-point rallying with the help of a co-driver.
Right 4, left 5. And right 4 long.
Crossover, which is like the super special stages in rally events, head-to-head racing on a 2-lane circuit. For Rallycross, you race a field of drivers on a circuit that combines both mud and tarmac sections. Rally Raid pits the heavier vehicles against each other, racing on long off-road courses. CORE stands for Championship Off-Road Racing. These events are for racing off-road trucks and buggies on small motocross-like circuits. Finally, there's the hill climb, which is self-explanatory really. There are 45 officially licensed cars, trucks and buggies to spend your winnings on, and each of these has a selection of different paint jobs to collect. Vehicle models are realistic and detailed right down to the interiors, while the level of damageability puts other driving games to shame. Handling here is tighter and often more forgiving than the old Colin McRae games, but it also manages to be subtle enough to challenge more experienced drivers. Online multiplayer sees up to 100 players in a lobby where everyone votes for their preferred car and track. Then the rally or hill climb stage is set and everyone's start times are synced up, so it's effectively like real rallying, your time against theirs.
80, left 6, jump.
This system works well, but it would have been nice if head-to-head modes were available too. The overall presentation here is so attractive, we felt deserved a special mention. You're guided around by the cheerful Travis Pastrana, America's premier rally driver.
Oh man, can you taste it? We're almost ready to drive.
All things considered, this is the most variety-packed off-road racer money can buy. We'll give it 4 out of 5.
Cops on Camera, the brand new series. Weeknights at 9 on Bravo.
It does seem to have some nice details, a bit more depth. Looks really tasty.
It's a first-person shooter. It is difficult, and a World War first-person shooter as well. It can be quite difficult to get really excited.
And what divisive game are they talking about? It's Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway, the 3rd edition and first next-gen entry into the squad-based World War II shooter franchise. President of Developers Gearbox Software, Randy Pitchford, was at Ubi Days, and with him was Consultant Colonel John Antal, who had a rather unusual way of rousing the crowd.
Are you ready? With passion. Everybody fight! Nobody quits! Always attack! Hooah! Now it's passion. Hooah!
Unsurprisingly, we decided to tie him up and interview Randy instead.
It's the game that we started working on right after we shipped a Roadtail 30 in March of 2005. We started right away, so we've been working on this thing for a long time. We're actually using the Gears of War engine for Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway. And we've been using it since it was in its formative years. We've had a long-time relationship with Epic Games, And we've added a lot of technology on top. Internally, you know, it's called the Unreal Engine, Unreal Engine 3. We kind of, Gearbox call our version Unreal Engine 3.5.
We asked Randy and Colonel John Nutter to take us through some features of the game that demoed both the action and the graphics.
Got a Thompson submachine gun here. Put some fire on him.
You notice how we can destroy a lot of the cover in the game. This is really important because now you can create your own flank.
I'm going to get a grenade on this position.
Grenades are a good thing.
Look, these guys are moving up. Bad decision. They think that wood is good cover.
Now this is really important.
Look at that. Look at this. I can shred this wood.
Yeah, I've seen it before.
That's
now,
awesome.
Randy, and he's trying to hide behind the picket fence. That's not very good. He's going to be dead here if he doesn't move.
Now, you'll notice when these guys shoot at me, the screen gets kind of blurry, starts to turn red. That means risk. Down here is safe. It's clear and crisp. That's risky, that's safe. If I dig in, it clears up.
Not so convinced about that last one. Not very realistic unless you're sinking into hell. And out on the floor, opinion was still fiercely divided.
I thought it was sort of half Full Spectrum Warrior, half Call of Duty, and not really doing either very well. The level of detail that's gone into that, the level of research, very impressive stuff, and I think the soldiers will think, think of the games very well for it.
This, Sierra claim, is in-game footage from their new Cold War RTS World in Conflict. Well, yes, I could probably claim the Isle of Wight as my ancestral seat, but nevertheless, we talked to this hirsute gentleman from Sierra.
We wanted to use real modern military hardware, and but we also felt that we didn't want to do really modern insurgency-based fighting the way the wars are played out today. We wanted to have big battles, even armies. So we decided to go back to the era of the superpowers. So we went back to the 80s, Cold War. Pretended that the Cold War didn't end, that the Soviet Union did not go down in economic collapse, and instead they started the Third World War.
Nice. But a real-world setting is more than just an excuse for a big battle.
We also wanted to really get people to get a sense of the power of all this hardware and destruction. So we wanted to place the game and the battles in familiar surroundings. Is it even possible that the Soviet Union could invade the US mainland? And after a bit of looking around and asking, knowledgeable military analysts, and we went to an author called Larry Bond that knows all this stuff, and we came up with a way to make it believable.
And there'll be none of that sci-fi nonsense here.
So people really wanted to have hardware that people could relate to, because when you have a gamer and sit them down and say, this is a fusion mutant walker, we have to teach them what it's good at and what its primary purposes are and what its weaknesses are. But if you have a tank, people know instantly what it's good at and what its weaknesses are and the points where it's vulnerable. And same with a helicopter, it's fast and deadly but very vulnerable to anti-air. I mean, there's like a huge bonus, and you get a lot of things for free when doing real settings.
But this being the Cold War, there was a grim predictability in the game's most powerful weapon.
We were born in the 70s, we grew up during the 80s. The threat of the bomb was actually there. The Cold War existed for real. But doing the nuke now, there was no anxiety, it was just pure destructive pleasure, developing it and making sure that the engine could handle all the destruction. I mean, there was no sense of, oh my God, this is unsettling. Unsettling is in the single player when we have civilians fleeing and people, being evacuated from their homes. But the nuclear bomb is so amazing, and it's just a thing of pure joy.
Of course it is. Radiate people to death, end of tune.
Hi, I'm Tim McRae from Firaxis Games. I'm QA Manager, and today I'm going to be showing you Beyond the Sword, the second expansion of Civilization 4. Civilization was brought to the computer by Sid Meier's. It's a turn-based strategy game, and you start with a very simple settler. You want to build your empire to be so massive it lasts through all history.
In layman's terms, it's a god game, people. Create a civilization, nurture it, grow it, love it, if you will. So Tim, what's new?
When we made the fourth installment of Civilization 4, we knew we were going to do two expansions. The first, Warlords, focused on the military aspects of the game. Here, we wanted to focus on a different way of beating your opponents: espionage, diplomacy, and a brand new space race. We've got 25 new units, 18 new buildings, 16 new leaders, 10 new civilizations, and 8 new wonders. One of those new wonders is the Apostolic Palace. What this allows you to do is, if you found a religion and then build this wonder, through voting, it's like an early UN, you can actually handicap your opponents so they cannot go to war with you. It's a new way of ensuring you can play a peaceful game, even if you have Montezuma and Napoleon next to you.
Forget peaceful, where's the guns?
Another new feature we have into the game are the units. We've got the mobile SAM, and we've also got the mobile artillery. This is the most powerful artillery in the game. We've got tactical nukes. These are a lot less expensive than your typical nukes, however they're also less powerful, but they still pack a wonderful punch.
That's more like it, but I want space.
Now, in the typical game of Civilization, the space race victory is won once someone launches into space. Not so anymore. In Final Frontier, you're no longer on the ground, you're now in space. In this game, what you want to do is control a solar system.
No, I don't. I want to shoot stuff.
This is very similar to your city, except now you're dealing with planets. These planets are each autonomous. You can build buildings on them or assign population.
No, I want to shoot stuff.
Here are some of the brand new units that we have added for Final Frontier. Each unit has 3 different levels, a base level and 2 upgrades.
Upgrades that shoot. I love it.
You've just seen a taste of the largest expansion pack ever for a Civilization game. Look for this on store shelves at end of July.
Of the 35,000 illegal Chinese immigrants entering Britain each year, nearly all have been smuggled in by the notorious snakehead gangs. People pay £16,000 or 30 years savings to make the hazardous 3-month journey. Not all will make it. Worldwide, people trafficking is